welcome to episode 4 of our podcast. It's a very exciting episode today because we will be talking about Gecko Impact Day. I'm your host, Pag, and I'm joined with two very lovely guests.
Thank you. I am Mrs. Tui.
And I'm Mrs. Charis, and thanks for having us here.
It's our pleasure. I'd like to start off by asking Mrs. Tui to explain what exactly Gecko Impact Day is, for those of you watching that are unaware.
Thank you. Yes, Gecko Impact Day is a new initiative that we've just started this year. And the idea behind it is that it's a way for secondary students to serve their community in different ways. So at the moment, we've started up with different clubs, and students are given the option to join these clubs. And it's basically a day-long event where they're involved with these clubs and doing different projects. So initially, that will be around school campus. And then later on, we're going to expand to the wider community.
That's exciting. Yeah, I'm really enjoying Gecko Impact Day. I know that a lot of my fellow students are too. We're wondering what exactly inspired you to start Gecko Impact Day.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, I'll start again. Yeah, so I think for a while now, I've been really thinking a lot more about our school ESLAs and the core values, and just thinking more about ways that we can bring that into our sort of daily lives, the curriculum. And I think I went to a conference in Thailand in March. And a lot of the emphasis of some of the sessions were around global citizenship and service. And so, I was really inspired by some of the talks, especially around ways, we can motivate students to serve in their communities and really teach them to become global citizens, so that when they leave school, they are actually, going forth and wanting to make this world a better place. So, I think there was a session where the speaker was actually talking about how in their school, they had started this program where basically every day 9 of their school week was dedicated to service. And I was like, ooh, that's a fun idea. So that was something that really just got me thinking about it. Is this something that we could do? And how could it work at our school? So it's been going from there. And
then Mrs. Tui happened to bring that up in one of our staff meetings, and I got really excited about it because in the past schools I've been in, we've done something similar too. And then I happen to be teaching global perspectives, and I see a very good opportunity of tying in service learning with global perspectives and how we should be looking at the world in a certain perspective of looking for needs and making sure we're active and we're using our skills to help others.
Yeah. That's really inspiring. So when she first pitched it in the meeting, you really loved the idea. Was it well received by the others as well? Did they like the idea?
I think it's always a mixed response when you suggest a new idea. Sometimes people are a little bit reluctant to sort of jump on board. I think the way I kind of pitched it initially was like, this is an idea I have. It's just something that we might be able to try. And I think I tried to share my enthusiasm for the idea that we're really teaching students, these skills of service and linking it with our ESLAs of global citizenship. So I think, there's a lot of understanding of why we're doing it. And then it's just more like the practical aspects. Like it's, it is quite time consuming organizing. And so, there's always practical things that are making people maybe a little bit like, oh, how's this going to work? Yeah. But I think on the whole, it was quite a positive response. Maybe you have things to add.
Most excited. It was really exciting. And I think a couple more of us teachers were really looking forward to how it will look like or how it will be run in the context of Asian Hope. But it does take a lot of work and effort to plan it. But it's really fun and fulfilling at the same time.
Yeah, I'm sure it does take a lot of time and effort. So I'm wondering, what are some expectations that you have for Gecko Impact Day?
Yeah, I mean, I think for this semester, we're really just focusing on how we can become more involved in the school community and how we can kind of serve different people in our community. And so for us, we've got our earlier students and we've got our primary students who are sort of, there. So, the idea is that we start small, start with our kind of local community and then gradually build out. But I think I'm really looking forward to the Earth Week Gecko Impact Day, where we actually start doing some of our projects. And, I think it's the primary and earliest teachers are really looking forward to it as well. They were mentioning how it's really nice to see the secondary students sort of take on more responsibility and actually show some of these kind of leadership initiatives. And they really enjoyed it the other day when they were coming around and interviewing people and they're like, oh yeah, these are my old students and now they're doing this. So I think it's really a nice way to build the community as a whole and, not just be secondary on our own, but actually part of the whole school community. So I think the more we can really build that up, the better it is for our school.
Yeah.
And I think in the long run, we do want to reach out to the wider community as well. But let's start small and, and see how it goes. Yeah,
and I guess personally as a subject teacher, it's also my desire for my students to develop a mindset of service and because they will leave the school eventually. And what my hope is for them to take with them that heart for service and the skills to be looking out for needs and the courage to be acting on those needs where they see it. So that's my personal goal for Gecko Impact Day.
That's really admirable. That's really nice. I'm glad you guys are going into this not just for the benefit of the whole community, but also for the benefit of the personal lives of students, and that must be it must have an impact on their personal lives as well. So, what would you say you wish the students would take away, as well as the staff that's involved in it, and ultimately the organization as a whole?
Yeah, big question. No, it's good. Yeah, I think for students, I agree with Mrs. Charis that I really want them to be learning these skills so that when they leave school, this is something that they can then pursue. I think, we heard from a few teachers on Gecko Impact Day how actually being involved with service when they were in high school or, in their younger days, it really formed, a perspective and an outlook on life that has shaped them. And I really think that, if we teach people to care and to actually, look out for the people who need help, and then they can really make a difference. Like, even if it's just on a small scale, on a daily basis, you're just, looking out for people. That's one thing. And then, maybe when they go forth and have their own companies, their own businesses, they're not just thinking about ways for themselves to make money or to build themselves up, but they're actually really, doing this because they want to make the world a better place, because they care about people. And I think also for staff, it has a lot of benefit as well. Mrs. Elner was sharing about how her being involved with service as a teacher was really something that was very important to her, and she just saw the way it could change the lives of students, but also the people that they were working with, in that community. That was something that had real value, and it's very memorable. Like, I can almost guarantee you that students will remember Gecko Impact Days. The other days in school, maybe they'll sort of slip by and become a bit of a blurred memory. But I think this will be something that they remember. And I think it needs to be part of our daily lives that we just keep remembering, like, we are here for a purpose. And, for Christians especially, we are wanting to be like Jesus, and part of that is really looking out for those in need, because, when we help those people, we are, helping Jesus. And, so I think that's something that's really important for Christians, and I hope all the staff here really have that impact as well. And yeah, I think that's kind of what our organization is about. And again, it very closely links with the Asian Hope core values, people, relationships, looking out for the vulnerable, all those things. So yeah, it's very much what Asian Hope is about. So I think everyone's hopefully on board with that.
Yeah. I would have to say I agree that I see that this really aligns with Asian Hope's core values. I've been at Asian Hope for 13 years now, so almost my whole life. Well, I was gone for a bit. But I think growing up with Asian Hope, it really shaped who I am and the empathy that I have for those around me. And I really hope that my sisters, they're very small, they're here too. I hope that they get to experience these things as well. So I hope that in the future, when they do get to secondary, they also have the chance to participate in Gecko Impact Day. So do you guys see Gecko Impact Day as a thing in the future?
Yeah, and one of our hopes is to, after honing skills in Asian Hope, and after giving opportunities for the secondary students to practice their skills for service in Asian Hope, we also hope to connect with other organizations outside and make networks where we can be more committed to helping specific communities and specific causes. And so we think it is a long-term thing, and we hope it's a long-term thing. And as we've mentioned before, after students leave here, whatever they take from here, they will use wherever they're sent. And so I guess that's a long-term impact on their end. And we've talked about ripples of love and affection, and that's probably one way to make it long-term. But we also hope that everybody who takes part in the Gecko Impact Day will be really passionate about it.
Yeah.
So long term.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think the things that we try, it's always a little bit of, let's try it.
Yeah.
It's an idea we have. Let's see how it works. Maybe there's some adjustments here and there. It might not always look exactly like it is now, but I really do hope it is a long-term thing. And I think when we are sort of starting to set up our plans, we're sort of thinking like year one, this, year two. So we're already kind of thinking about like the years in the future and how it can develop and expand. And yeah, we don't quite know how that will look like yet, but I really do hope it will be something that continues.
I hope so too. Well, that brings us to the end of our podcast. Thank you so much for coming here onto the podcast, having a conversation with me today. And do you have any final thoughts to say to those of us watching?
Well, thank you very much for inviting us, and thank you for being such a lovely host.
Oh, thank you.
And it's really nice to be able to share a little bit more about Gecko Impact Day, and I hope everyone's excited about it.
And my heart's to say, but Mrs. Tui, we really appreciate you inviting us here, and that we hope that everyone's excited about it, and that you are also seeing our heart for it, and that you will also join us in just being excited about it and putting in your passions and skills for Gecko Impact Day.
Yes.
And one thing to add, I'm really happy that the Year 12s are taking in a leadership role in this, and it's great to see people like you, Peg, and your
so
classmates just taking on that leadership responsibility, because it really sort of inspires me to think like, actually, you're leaving Asian Hope next year, but you're going to take this with you, and hopefully that will really impact you all of your lives.
I hope for the same thing. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mrs. Tui, and thank you, Mrs. Charis, again. And thank you guys for watching episode 4 of our podcast. Bye.